Ex-Marine rescues a lost elderly veteran in Pinewood Grove, 24 hours later. A military helicopter lands. A sharp voice cut through Pinewood Grove. Don't waste your time with him. Just a frail old man. But the young ex-Marine stayed quiet. His steady eyes locked on the trembling elderly man before him. 24 hours later, the roar of helicopter blades echoed across the grove. What happened next was beyond anyone's imagination. Tom Carter moved silently through Pinewood Grove. His boots barely touched the damp grass. At 40, his body still held the strength of his Marine days. His eyes, though, carried a calm watchfulness. 4 years out of the service, these early morning walks were his refuge. A place where old memories couldn't follow. The sunlight slipped through the trees, painting soft patterns on the ground. Tom stopped, his sharp senses catching something odd. About 15 yards ahead, an old man stood, confused, gripping a faded map. His clothes were messy, his face worn from a night outside. Unprepared. "Sir, you okay?" Tom called gently, stepping closer. The old man jumped, then relief spread across his tired face. "Thank heavens," he sighed. "I've been lost since yesterday evening." Tom reached him, noticing the man's proud posture despite his age. "I'm Tom Carter," he said, offering his hand. "Henry Blake," the man replied, his handshake strong. "Korean War, 101st Airborne. Long time ago." He gave a weak smile that faded quickly. "Foolish of me to wander out here alone. Wanted to see the old training fields one last time." Tom nodded, understanding the pull of certain places. "Let's get you out, sir. I know these paths." As Tom handed over his water bottle, Henry's embarrassment was clear. "I should have been smarter," Henry muttered. "We all slip up," Tom said kindly. "This grove doesn't care if you're young or old, it'll test anyone." They'd been walking for an hour when voices drifted through the trees. A hiking group appeared, 4 men and 3 women, around a curve in the path. Tom waved. "Excuse me," he called. "This man got separated from his group yesterday. Can you help?" A broad man in fancy hiking gear stepped forward, eyeing Henry. "What's an old guy like him doing out here?" he sneered. "These paths aren't for retirees playing adventurer." Tom's jaw tightened. "He's a veteran," Tom said firmly. The group chuckled, except one young woman who looked uneasy. "Veteran? What, from World War I?" Another man laughed. Henry's shoulders sagged, his eyes dropping to the dirt. "We just need a working phone," Tom said, keeping his voice steady. "Our batteries are dead." The broad man, clearly the group's leader, smirked. "Not our problem. Maybe Grandpa should stick to bingo." The group laughed again, though the young woman hesitated. "Come on, Nate," one of the hikers said. "We're wasting time with these two." They shoved past, one brushing Henry's shoulder, making him stumble. Tom steadied him with a hand. "I'm sorry," Henry whispered, shame in his voice. "You should go. I'm holding you back." Tom watched the hikers disappear, his face calm but his chest tight with anger. He'd faced worse enemies, but this disrespect stung. "No, sir," Tom said firmly. "We stick together. That's the deal." Henry looked up, a spark of recognition in his eyes. The bond of those who'd served. Unspoken but strong. "Thank you," he said softly. Tom gave a nod, keeping his hand on Henry's arm. They pushed on through the thickening grove. The hikers' laughter faded, but their words hung heavy in the quiet. The midday sun blazed as Tom and Henry reached a small open spot. Henry's breathing was rough, each step slower than the last. Tom saw his cracked lips. A sign of dehydration. "Let's rest," Tom said, guiding Henry to a mossy log. He checked his water bottle, barely a few sips left. He handed it to Henry. "Drink, sir." Small sips. Henry's hands shook as he took it. "You need it more," he protested. "I've gone days without water in worse heat." Tom said plainly. "Training, sir. Please drink." Henry sipped reluctantly. Voices came again. Tom looked up, the same hiking group. Back at the clearing. They'd looped around to this rest spot. Well, the leader, Nate, called loudly. The old wanderer and his bodyguard. Tom ignored them, checking Henry's condition. The old man's face was pale. And Tom worried about heatstroke. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Nate snapped, stepping closer. "What, planning to call a chopper because Grandpa got lost?" The group lounged nearby, some grinning, others shifting awkwardly. We'll move soon, Tom said calmly. No trouble here. Nate scoffed. Trouble? You know how many fools like you need rescuing? Wasting everyone's money. Henry tried to stand. Young man, there's no need. Sit down, old man, Nate barked. Tom put a gentle hand on Henry's shoulder. No need for this, he said, voice even. Nate's eyes narrowed, sensing Tom's calm as a challenge. He grabbed Tom's water bottle from the ground. How much you got left? Not much. Huh? He twisted the cap and poured the water out, letting it soak into the dirt. Oops, guess you're on your own now. Henry stared, dismayed. Tom didn't move, his face blank. The other hikers looked uneasy, but no one spoke. One woman seemed ready to say something but glanced at Nate and stayed quiet. The young woman from before turned away, avoiding the scene. Be grateful, Nate said, tossing the empty bottle at Tom's feet. I'm teaching you about survival. Tom picked up the bottle, clipping it to his belt without a word. Got nothing to say? Nate taunted. Henry's hands shook, not from fear but anger. Years ago, he'd have faced this bully head-on. Now, his age felt like chains. Tom touched Henry's shoulder. We should move, sir. There's a creek about a mile ahead. As they stood, Nate blocked their path. Maybe we should make sure these two don't get lost again. His friends laughed nervously, sensing he'd gone too far. Tom met Nate's stare, silent, then guided Henry around him. They walked on, the weight of the moment lingering. The afternoon faded into evening. Tom and Henry moved slowly through Pinewood Grove. They'd found the creek, refilled their water, but Henry was weakening. His steps faltered, and Tom now supported most of his weight. We'll camp soon, Tom said, scanning for a good spot. Dark in an hour. Henry nodded faintly. Sorry for the trouble, son. You're no trouble, sir, Tom said firmly. Just adapting. They found a sheltered spot under a rocky ledge. Tom built a small fire, his movements quick and skilled. The flames glowed, pushing back the night. Henry watched, impressed. You move like you've done this 1,000 times, he said. Tom nodded. Part of the job. What unit were you? Henry asked. Marine Force Recon, Tom answered. Henry's eyes widened slightly. That's no small thing. Tom shrugged. Just did what was needed. Footsteps broke the quiet. Tom tensed, stepping in front of Henry. A flashlight beam cut through the trees. The young woman from the hiking group appeared. Hello, she called softly. Saw your fire. Tom stayed alert, watching her. She stepped into the firelight, hands up to show no threat. I'm Corporal Sarah Miles, 82nd Airborne, she said. Just checking on you too. Tom eased slightly but stayed cautious. We're managing. Sarah looked at Tom, then her eyes sharpened. Wait, Captain Carter? Tom Carter? Tom's face stayed neutral. That was years ago. Sarah's posture straightened. Sir, I served under General Hayes in Syria. He told us about Operation Night Strike. What you did? Henry looked confused, glancing between them. You saved 12 men, sir, Sarah said, her voice full of respect. General Hayes called it the bravest thing he'd ever seen. Tom shifted, uneasy. Not a story for tonight. Corporal. Sarah turned to Henry. And you, sir, you served? Henry nodded. Korean War, 101st Airborne. Sarah's eyes lit up. The Battle of Chosin Reservoir? Henry blinked, surprised. Yes, how did? My dad was there, Sarah said. He told me about the soldiers who held the line against freezing cold and enemies 5 times their number. The grove seemed to hush, honoring the history shared. I came to say sorry, Sarah said, looking down. For Nate and the others. They don't get it. More footsteps came. The whole hiking group stepped into the light, led by Nate. Their faces were different now, less cocky, more unsure. Miles, what are you doing? Nate started, then stopped. He saw the fire, the 2 men, and froze. Sarah faced her group. This is Captain Tom Carter. Marine Force Recon. He led one of the toughest rescue missions in Syria. She pointed to Henry. And this is a Korean War veteran. One of the heroes of Chosin Reservoir. Nate's face paled. One of the women gasped quietly. Captain Carter earned the Silver Star. Sarah added. That's no small honor. Tom stood, his voice low but firm. That's enough, Corporal. Nate stepped forward, hesitant. We didn't know. You weren't supposed to, Tom said simply. Henry stood, slow but proud. his exhaustion giving way to dignity. Nate looked at his group, their faces showing shame. "We've got extra supplies," he said awkwardly. "Food, water, blankets. Please, take them." Tom and Henry shared a look, a silent agreement. Sometimes, pride stepped aside for necessity. "We'd appreciate it," Tom said. The group moved quickly, setting up a better camp, sharing what they had. Henry leaned close to Tom. "Funny how people change when they know your story," he whispered. Tom nodded. "It's not about the glory, sir. Never was." Morning light spilled over Pinewood Grove, tinting the sky pink and gold. Tom stood at the clearing's edge, watching Henry share tea with Sarah and the now quiet hiking group. The night had changed them all in small ways. A faint sound caught Tom's ear, the thump of helicopter blades. He tilted his head, listening. "Someone's coming," he said. The sound grew louder, trees swaying as a military helicopter appeared overhead. It hovered, then landed in a nearby open space. Nate looked puzzled. Did someone call for help? Tom shook his head, his eyes on Henry, who smiled faintly. Two officers stepped out of the helicopter and approached. They spotted Henry and saluted. "Colonel Blake," one called. "We've been looking for you since yesterday." "Sir." The hiking group froze, staring at Henry. "Colonel?" Nate whispered. Henry stood, returning the salute with ease. "Sorry for the worry, Major. Lost my way." "No trouble, sir," the officer said. "The governor was concerned when you missed the memorial event." Henry nodded, then turned to Tom. "This man saved my life." The officers looked at Tom, recognition in their eyes. "Captain Carter," one said respectfully. As Henry prepared to leave, the hiking group stood quietly, a gesture of respect. Nate stepped forward, stumbling over his words. "Sir, we're sorry." Henry looked at him. "Some lessons come hard, son." He turned to Tom, offering his hand. "Thank you, Captain." Tom shook it firmly. No words needed. The helicopter rose, carrying Henry back to a world that honored his service. The group watched in silence. Sarah stood beside Tom. "Some folks don't ask to be remembered," Tom said quietly. "But we owe them our respect."